right, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce our very special guest, Justin Allen. Justin graduated from Malta High School in 1999. It's a school I knew well, and so did Mr. Stoddard. Back then had a population of 78, where he was a two-time All-State basketball player. He then went on to Arizona State University, where he played basketball for 5 seasons. After a promising freshman season, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. He underwent 6 months of chemotherapy and 8 weeks of radiation. During this time, he had an awakening experience that forever changed his life. One minute, he was an 18-year-old basketball player with the dreams of playing for a championship, and the next, an 18-year-old faced the biggest challenge of his life. After his year-long battle with cancer, Justin learned that the tumors were gone, and he immediately set his sights on returning to the court. The very next season, he found himself on the court and in a Sun Devil uniform, and he played another 3 seasons for Arizona State. During his time at Arizona State, Justin received several awards: Jimmy Valvano National Comeback Player of the Year Award, the NCASP Courage Award, and he was featured in 100 Heroes, People in Sports that Make This a Better World by Richard Lapchick. After graduation, he spent 5 seasons playing professional basketball internationally. In 2009, he ended his playing career to create his own basketball training and club business in Arizona. Recently, he formed a motivational and inspirational company called Chase My Passion. He most recently wrote a children's book titled No You Can't, Yes I Can, which is based on his life. Justin is a very passionate person in his life and believes in paying it forward. Justin inspires others by sharing his story of perseverance, courage, and attitude, demonstrating a mindset of never giving up, always chasing our passions, and individual development along with your own unique journey. We're very lucky to have had Justin convey this message to over 70 Sycamore High School seniors at the Chamber's Salute to Scholars luncheon yesterday. Today we're lucky to hear from him again. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Justin Allen.
How you guys doing today? Before I get going, I wanted to actually have some happy dollars as well. Said a couple different things, but I want to make sure I donate this in. But I had May 5th, usually Cinco de Mayo, but I had my 13-year cancer-free on May 5th. And the other 10 was just having Tim, and I want to say Fogo as well, because she let me know yesterday that she was part of it. But having Tim bring me out and be able to speak at the Salute to Scholars was absolutely amazing yesterday. If you guys haven't been there before, you guys definitely should go. It just shows some of the promising young students at Sycamore High Schools developing some of the things they did, and their maturity was way beyond their years. It's very impressive. So I want to thank Tim for bringing me out here and providing this opportunity, and obviously the Rotary Club for allowing me to come in and speak. So with that, I know I only have about 15-20 minutes, and if you give me a mic, I'll talk for about an hour. So I'm going to get cut off at some point, so I'm going to try to get as much in as I can. I was going to try something different and actually read my children's book. I figured it'd go over really well with an adult crowd. But it kind of just shows a little bit about my journey. But I think for timing-wise, I might read a couple different pages. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of maybe who I am, what I've been through, what I'm trying to do, and then some of the things I believe are keys that we should be preaching, not just to the youth, but I think everybody, no matter how old you are, and what you're trying to achieve in life. It's a constant journey that's always going. So like Tim said, I grew up in Malta, Illinois. 800 people in the town, 80 kids or 78 kids in the high school. We had 24 kids in our graduating class. And my dream was always to play Division I basketball. It was just, basketball's been my passion since I was a little kid. I think it started with my dad, following around to his games, and just I wanted to be like my dad, so I wanted to play basketball. And then later on, I wanted to be better than my dad, so it was this competition, right? But the history of Malta High School, I think there have been some really good basketball players. One of them sitting right here, right? I don't know if you guys knew that Tim was a legend of Malta, so as I was trying to, still is a legend of Malta. There's no high school though, so now he's a legend of Sycamore, right? But there'd never been a Division I scholarship athlete ever come out of Malta. So when I had told people that, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was going to play Division I basketball, they're like, yeah, sure, okay. Good luck with that. You play at Malta, no one's going to find you, don't play good competition, the school's too small. Then as I got older, I started hearing that I was too slow, I don't jump high enough, all the different things. I had a certain coach against me that tried telling his players I couldn't jump very high, right? So, I'm not going to name any names. So when I had that was something that actually really motivated me. But at that point, all I thought about was basketball. I was play basketball in college, I was going to play in the NBA, I was going to make a bunch of money. And my thought process with basketball was something I loved, but it was all about basketball. It wasn't about education, it wasn't about anything else. But I was able to earn a scholarship out to Arizona State University. So right there, my passion started building with what basketball meant. It got me a free education, got me out to Arizona State. I'm gonna say it got me out of Malta because I absolutely love Malta. But it got me, all the way across the U.S. to a totally different place, a new experience. So I ended up going out to Arizona State, reached one of my goals. My freshman year, I played quite a bit, played about 12 or 13 minutes a game. Played with Eddie House, who played 13 years in the NBA, won an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics, and we had a really good year. And I had a really good year, I was really excited about the next year, but coming from Malta, where we had 24 in my class, and going to Arizona State, where there's 72,000 students. It's the third biggest university in the U.S. So I go out there, 72,000 students, I'm walking into class. I remember economics class, very first class. It's a pretty good story, it might take some time, but I pull up to my first economics class, very first class ever, 8:20, first day of college, I'm riding my bike. I park my bike and I go into class, there's 800 people in this class. So first of all, I'm like, that's Malta in my class, right? So I'm just shocked, I'm nervous and see what's going on. I walk out and my bike's gone. I parked it right. So then I remember I walked back to the dorm, and ASU's campus is huge. So it was like a 3-mile walk. Got back to my dorm and I told my new roommate who I just met, I was like, my bike got stolen. He's like, oh, they cut your lock? I'm like, a lock? Why would you like it? They're like, it's not Malta anymore. But I had a little MO sticker on it. So for 3 years I was looking at every bike. So it was a little bit of a shock to the system going out there and being in a totally different environment. And from playing, Paw and Leland to going and playing, UCLA and U of A and Stanford at the time. Pac-12 was the #1 conference in the nation. So I had a lot of work to do because I wanted to play at a higher level. I wanted to play in the NBA. Sad to say, my freshman year I had a 2.0 GPA, and I was out. I was telling the kids I went on a lot of dates, and I was out doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, but I was kind of living the college athlete life, right? I was playing ball and doing, all the other good stuff, but I wasn't really going to class that often. And then going into my sophomore year, that summer, I had a really good summer. I gained about 45, 50 pounds. Muscle, I was running, I was jumping better. I was working really hard. I was probably gonna be 6th man or possibly starting. The next year I was fighting for that 5th spot. And then all of a sudden I got back and school had started and I just wasn't feeling very good. Started kind of just feeling tired, I was sleeping a lot. And I remember I went into the team doctor and I said, I don't feel good and I don't know what's going on. So he threw me on a scale and I got up to about 245 pounds. And he looked at it and he said, well, you're 235. And I was like, well, it's 245 5 days ago. And then so they gave me some protein and some vitamins, like maybe it's a bug or something, you're just losing weight, you take this stuff. So then I went back next week and I just kept getting more tired and I could feel myself just getting weaker. So I went back in, the same thing. I was 225 pounds. So I lost another 10 pounds in a week. And the story just keeps on going week after week. About 5 weeks later, I went in there and I was about 185 pounds. So in about a month, I had lost almost 60 pounds. So at that point, obviously the whole time they're getting nervous, they're checking me for valley fever, they're checking me for this, and they're checking me for that. You name it, they were checking it. They could not figure out what was going on with me. So I kept working out, I kept training, I was still practicing because I didn't want to lose my spot. Even though I just lost 60 pounds, I was still in my mind I was going to start. So I remember I went to morning workouts, 5 in the morning, I walk in, tie my shoes, I sit down, tie my shoes, and the next thing I remember, they're waking me up, I'd passed out. And from that point, that's when everyone started kind of freaking out a little bit, ran me to the doctor. I went into the doctor, I was 18 years old, ready to start playing. I was there by myself, my parents were still in Malta, my coaches were in the waiting room, and the doctor comes in and shuts the door. And he goes, do you want me to call your parents? And I was like, I'm a grown man, you don't need to call, I got this. Whatever you tell me, I'm good with, And he sits down next to me, he's like, I really don't know how to tell you this. He's like, but you have cancer. So then as soon as he said that to me, I kind of took a step back, because when you hear that word, a lot of people are impacted by that disease. I don't care, it doesn't matter what race, religion, where you're from, it impacts a lot of different people. My sister's best friend when I was in 7th grade died of cancer, so it was something that I had a really, really deep experience with, and emotionally it impacted my life. So from that day forward, I kind of flipped it from using basketball to get to the NBA, and my whole mindset changed, where I wanted to use basketball to get back on the court and beat this disease. So people always ask me, why, my wife is like, you're crazy about basketball, why are you so crazy? And I'm like, it's not even the game as much as what the game means to me. And for me, it's basketball. For someone else, it could be art, it could be music, it could be science, it could be history, biology, soccer, whatever it is. your passion can drive you to do things you didn't think you're capable of. So with that next year, I'm glad to say that I ended up graduating with a 3.5. Ended up being 3-time all-conference academically, not on the floor, but academically. It would have been nice about both, right? But I think that was a really big thing to me though, because that's when I started learning. I always tell people cancer is a blessing to me, because I look at it, and most people, and I was going down that route where it was about basketball, it was about, doing the things and getting good-looking women and all that stuff. That's what I cared about. And then all of a sudden I got sick, and it really made me grow up a lot faster than I thought I probably had to. Made me realize what the game was. And that's when I started really preaching this idea that it's a vessel. Your passion is a vessel, not just basketball, but your passion is a vessel along your journey in life. And it's not always about the end game. It's not where you get to so much, but it's about the journey to get to that point. And I talked to Sycamore High School basketball team the other day, and I said, look, you got to set goals. If your goal is to play in the NBA, your goal is to play in Division I, you go for it. And you have to put in a lot of hard work to do that. You got to get good grades, you got to listen to your coaches, you got to work hard, you got to train hard. And whether you make that goal or not, the process of doing that is what's important. The things you have to do to learn to get to that point, the teamwork, the loyalty, all that stuff is important. And again, I always equate that to no matter what it is. If you want to be an artist, it's not about being the next Michelangelo. If you want to be a musician, it's not about being the next Elvis, right? It's about doing that process to be as good as you can be. So I went through, ended up playing again another 4 years at Arizona State, graduated. Got married. I always tell people another reason why I love basketball, because I got to marry way above my pay grade. I think it helped. I was on the TV a little bit and stuff. So got done playing though, and I decided I wanted to go play professional basketball. And there's not a huge market for guys that are 6'8", not super quick, and average 3 points a game in college. So I didn't have any agents calling me. The Bulls weren't calling me, which was my dream. But I knew I wanted to play. I knew I had to start somewhere. So I couldn't get an agent to call me back. I couldn't get an agent that wanted to sign me, because I don't know if any of you guys have dealt with sports agents or any type of entertainment agents. If you can make them money, they love you. If you can't make them money, then you're just somebody else, right? So I ended up becoming my own agent. I made videos, made highlights, started making phone calls. I was calling Australia. The phone bill was pretty high. I was calling anywhere I could that I thought I could get the language in and say anything about how I wanted to try to get information and send them stuff. I ended up landing a job in Tasmania, Australia. So yeah, Tasmanian devil is pretty cool. But one of my favorite places in the world, by the way. And it's what I love about basketball is it allowed me to travel to places I never would have traveled. So for about 5-6 years, I played in 8 different countries. I played in Kuwait City, which somewhere I never would have traveled. South Korea, I played in Japan for 2 years, Argentina, Venezuela, Australia, Mexico. So I got to travel the world because of the sport. And then that was the same thing. It's funny because I had teammates and I always talked to them about it. Everything about them was about money. Like, oh, I'm making it here. And I'm like, I'm going to travel to play a game, support my family, and do something I love to do. It got me my degree, it got me my wife, it got me to travel. It got me to do a lot of different things because I love something and I've worked really hard to try to get better at it. So I remember I got done playing, came back, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm 29, 30 years old. I've been an athlete my whole life. Never really had a job. I worked some basketball camps here and there, and my mom signed me up for a summer job at the hospital once cleaning leaves and stuff. But that was my extent of my work history, so it's not very easy to get a job doing that. Somehow I ended up landing, it was an internship at a data analytic company. Did that for about 6 months and ended up landing a job. A really nice job, paid really well. It was I was selling data analytics into banks. Wasn't a dream job, but it was something that I needed to try to get me going, and it was a career for most people. Well, one day I was sitting there watching, don't judge me, guys, but I was watching Oprah. I used to try to make something up. I'm like, I was watching something else. I was actually watching Oprah, and my wife was with me, so we were watching together. And Will Smith came on. And you see Will Smith, he's a famous actor. The younger crowd is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? So he was a rapper at one point. You wouldn't think he's this philosophical guy. But he's on Oprah, and he's sitting there, and I'm sitting there talking to my wife, and he gets on, oh, I really like Will Smith, he's a good actor, he's done some pretty cool stuff. And he goes, and the first thing that caught my attention, he said, if you're not making someone else's life better, which I think fits in perfect with this, if you're not making someone else's life better, you're wasting your time. And I kind of stepped back and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, I've done a lot of cool things, but how am I impacting anyone's life by selling data analytics to Wells Fargo, right? I'm not really doing anything to make anyone's life better except for making them rich. And then give me a good paycheck. So then he went on and said, by making their lives better, your life ultimately becomes better. You feel better, things start coming your way, you start meeting people, you start networking, and you just have, you end up developing into a different person. So from that day forward, I looked at my wife, I'm like, I knew I wasn't happy, I knew I wasn't doing what I love to do, and I know what my passion is, I know what my experiences are, I know what I can give. So I ended up starting a basketball company up. So we train kids 9U all the way up to 17U. Our goal with our high school kids is to get them college education. So we've had, before I came in, I took over a new company about 6 months ago. We've had 330 kids go to college out of our program. We've had 5 NBA players. But I always tell people, I'm the proudest of the kid that just signed a Colgate. We have another one that's getting offered by Penn. We have another kid that's at NYU. So it's pretty cool where they're using a sport to go get their degree. And so one of the things we're preaching is it's not about the sport, it's about your love for something that's going to get you an education, it's going to let you travel and meet people. So it's been a blessing doing that. And then I started speaking at schools, I started speaking at events, I started going all over the place. And I decided I wanted to start getting into some younger ages. I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I was actually watching, again, Teen Choice Awards, so I'm sure you guys watch that all the time. It's on Nickelodeon, but again, it was funny. I don't know why I'm like a magnet to Will Smith, but Will Smith won an award. And he gets up there and he's standing up in front of the podium and he doesn't say anything about the movie he made, he doesn't make anything about the award he got. And he goes, there's 2 keys to life. He said, running and reading. And both of them kind of spoke to me, and when he said though, like running and reading, okay, you gotta be fit and you gotta be smart, right? And he went a little bit deeper and he said, with running, when you run, you get really tired. You're running 3 miles, or there's a finish line somewhere, but your body's telling you to stop, you're starting to feel sick, your legs are shaking. Everyone that's a runner has kind of felt that, that feeling, right? And he said, but what do? You keep going and you don't quit. And he said, well, life is the exact same thing. You're chasing your dream, you're chasing something, you're going after something, things get hard, you don't feel good, you fail, whatever's gonna happen, but you keep running. And I was like, that's pretty cool, I love that. That's really kind of the message I've been with, chasing your passion, you're running for something, and you keep going, and no matter what obstacle comes your way, you jump over it, you go through it, you go under it, whatever you have to do. And then he said, reading. And when he said this, along with making people's life different, this is when I decided to write a children's book. But he said, with reading, there's not something that someone hasn't gone through, that someone else hasn't gone through and written a book about. And I'm like, nowadays with technology, it's on YouTube, it's on blogs, wherever it is, but there's not anything that someone can go through that someone else hasn't gone through and probably accomplished and maybe went on to be really successful afterwards. So I decided that's when I kind of decided I was going to write a book. And I remember probably went to bed like at 10:30. I was sitting with my laptop, and we always watch Criminal Minds, one of our shows. We watch a whole bunch of different. That's like our thing. For kids in bed, we watch movies and shows. And she fell asleep, and I was still working. The next morning, I probably was up for like 7 more hours. I always tell people I had my Jerry Maguire moment, just up typing. And my wife wakes up and I hand her the computer. And she's like, what is this? I'm like, I think I wrote a children's book last night. And she looked at me like, what? So she read through it. And she's like, this is really cool. Like, you should start sharing this with some different people and see what they think. And I have some friends, Bobby Narian used to write for the Chronicle. He actually read it. Vaughn McClary used to write for the Chronicle. He actually read it. And I passed on to a couple of people and they loved it. So this is kind of where, it's pretty neat too though. I ended up, a friend of a friend, his dad published like 15 different children's books. And he teaches literature at BYU. And I'm like, oh, he's a perfect guy. He's like, I love my book. This is going to be so awesome, right? So I sent him about 4 or 5 pages of it. And I got an email back the very next day. Oh, he must have loved it. He must have loved it if he sent it back, a day later. I opened up the email and he has no words of advice on what I should do, how I should change it. And he just says, you're really kind of an athlete, you're not really a writer. Didn't really like it, right? It was pretty funny. As soon as I told my wife, I was like, I probably would have been discouraged at one point, but I was dead set that I was going to do this. I don't care if some people liked it, some people didn't. I was going to kind of go through it. And I told my wife, I'm like, I need to send him a thank you note though, because he gave me another page. The very last page is about, you're an athlete, you're a survivor, but you're not a writer. So I was like, his last page is because of him, right? So it was pretty cool. So actually, he did give me a lot for the book. But so I did write the books, No You Can't, Yes I Can, and really it's the same message though. It's using whatever you're passionate about. I tell kids, mine's basketball, but fill in the blank with whatever you like. It could be, you name it. You fill it in, you go after it, and as you're going after it, it's along that journey that you learn more. And I always tell people, it might not even be the same. Mine could have been basketball, and I could have went and played in Canada, and I could have met someone that was curling. How else do you like curling? You know what I'm saying? If you watch the Olympics, I'm like, what is that? Like, you're just moving that little thing, but it's kind of unique. But like, how do you get into that? But who knows, you're going down the road and you see that, oh, that's really cool. And it was really cool. I went to daycare today, and I was talking to a lady. She said, I wanted to be a dentist my whole life. And I volunteered at a school when I was 18, and I was like, I want to teach. So her whole life, she's like, I want to be a dentist, I want to be a dentist. And then she's like, ooh, I want to be a teacher, I really love this. So it changes as you go along too. So I always tell kids, stay down the path, chase it, do whatever you have to do, meet people, network, work hard, overcome whatever you have to overcome, and then just follow that journey. And it's not always about the end state, but it's about that whole process that goes through it. So then, that's where I'm at right now. So I'm trying to do what I love to do, and I'm trying to, impact as many people as I can impact. And one thing I did is I do believe very, very hardly in sharing your story. And I think everyone's got a story. So I'm up here speaking, but I guarantee if you give the mic to everybody in this room, they have a story that can resonate with at least one other person. So I created a website called Chase My Passion. And at Chase My Passion, the goal is going to be to have people come share their own story. You come on and you get the little mini blog, you just fill it in, and you share whatever your story might be. It could be, I went through a divorce, and I thought my life would never get better, and all of a sudden I'm successful. Or maybe, I failed at something I got told I wasn't very good, and I went through it. And then I want other people to go there, and I want them to read those stories, and hopefully they become inspired, and they want to write one and inspire someone else, and kind of keep this process going and trying to help each other out. And right before I go, one pretty cool thing, in the book, all the artwork was done by kids. So we had an art contest, and we chose 3 kids. We had a professional do the front and the back, and then we had an art contest. We selected 3 kids. This kid right here told me he wasn't any good. So somewhere in his life, someone told him he wasn't a good artist. And I was like, I heard you're good, your mom said you're good, send it to me. And he sent it to me, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, dude, you were amazing. And someone, I don't know, as an art teacher said, you know what? You're just not, maybe you should go, he was an athlete too, maybe you should go wrestle. You're not really, pretty awesome to me, right? So it's pretty cool, he's done that, and now he's starting to draw a little bit more, and we're trying to get him to go to the Art Institute up in San Francisco. So we're trying to work pretty hard so we can get a scholarship for him up there and kind of chase his dream that way. So with that, I really appreciate you guys coming. I mean, what you guys do is amazing, and I think it really ties in with the whole message of making people's life better and serving other people and trying to impact other people, which I think if everyone and more people would think that way, this would be a pretty awesome world, right? So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much, and talk to you guys a little bit. Yeah, questions? Yep. Sorry, any questions? Yep.
You send them any of these basketball players to NIU?
I'm trying. I'm actually, one of my good high school teammates, his assistant coach there, a basketball kid named Chet Peck, and I've sent him notes, but I can't get him to buy any of my guys. But I have one kid I was trying to get him, he just signed at Cincinnati, and I was like, I told you he was good enough to play Northern. But it's hard with the budget to get all the way to Arizona, but I'm trying, because I want Northern to do well. Even though I didn't go to Northern, I grew up a huge NIU fan. I had season tickets my whole life. So to watch Northern do good, I think it's good for the community as well. So hopefully someday we'll have, I like the coaches there, so I think they'll get it right, so, yep.
Where can I get your children's book?
I actually have some if you want to get today.
I do.
Okay, cool, let's do it. But also on Chase My Passion, you can buy the book there. And I'm going to be trying to do some other cool things with YouTube videos and things like that and add to it, so thank you.
And we'll put that link up on the website too, if you guys want to click through it in the next couple of days.
Any other ones? Anyone else from Malta? I know we have a couple of guys. Yeah, I know there's a couple of us in here. All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Born in a small town. Don't forget Sunday's what?